Hi, everyone. On today's episode, we have Marcos Lara, comedian, poet, artist. Marcos is an odd guy and a really good friend of mine, and he decided that he did not want to discuss a movie or a CD or any of the kind of fields we've talked about before. No, Marcos decided he wanted to talk about a rap feud. Apparently, the Meek Mill Drake feud was a very disappointing affair to Marcos, having, grown up in the era of Biggie and of course Pac's feud, and I just went, okay, let's talk about this. It's an odd discussion that I'm out of my element for, completely, and I hope it shows, because I think it's funny. But here it is. Episode 21. I Wanna Like This. Meek Mill versus Dre with Marcos Lara.
Little fucking hoodlum asshole that the fans voted to kill.
You gotta wonder if Jason Todd, you gotta wonder if maybe he had like some kind of behavioral disorder.
Oh, he definitely had a behavioral disorder.
Yeah.
It's just, blah, blah, blah. That happened. Yeah, I don't hate Jason Todd. I love Tim Drake. He's my Robin.
Yes.
He is my
Tim
Robin.
Drake is fantastic.
But
I love Tim Drake as well.
And then, I think people who complain about it is like, well, they're adding context and tone that isn't there. They're doing it in their head. Like, this sounds whiny. And, yeah.
I think he should be whiny.
Yeah. He's a fucking kid dealing with superhero bullshit.
And he's a rich kid. He's someone who's
well, he's a kid who was poor, and now he's got the fucking immense amount of wealth at his hands.
No, because if I remember correctly, weren't his parents well off also?
No. Tim's family is not well off.
Then how come they were able to do like all that world traveling and everything?
I think you're confusing Tim.
No, because remember, that's how, remember his mom got killed by that voodoo guy, and that's what left his dad disabled.
I thought that was work related. Like, their travel was work related. Like, Tim's dad wasn't always a bad dude. He had, like, work that was, like, humanitarian or some shit. I can't remember. It's been a decade.
At the very least, Tim grew up upper middle class.
Yes. He's not dirt poor like Jason Todd.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, he's the kid who grew up well off. I mean, he is the stereotypical kid growing, angst-ridden
in the city,
teen,
but not
in the suburbs,
destitute. No, he's in the city. He's in Gotham.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, as far as like the stereotype he fills, I don't doubt that he was living in Gotham. I'm saying that like
he's not in Gotham.
Yeah,
yeah, I got you. He's not from the crime ring
like
streets.
Those kids who grew up in Schaumburg and who are kind of neglected by their parents.
Yes.
They're bitter and stuff. But then when they go to Chicago, people are like, "What are you bitter about?
Yeah.
You grew up comfortably." And it's like, yes, he's grown up physically comfortably, economically comfortably, but not emotionally comfortably.
Exactly. And I think Young Justice is like a really great example of Tim Drake, like in the second season.
Yes.
I think that's a very good one. And they skip over Jason Todd as well, but it's already implied that Jason Todd is dead.
Yeah, Jason Todd is just way too. I would say not just way too complex a character, but they just added, and with DC resurrecting him and everything, just added so much supernatural nonsense.
Yeah, I really want people to stay dead. Well, they already have precedent for people coming back from the dead with Ra's al Ghul and the Lazarus Pit, which is what they use to drive him crazy. But we are fucking rambling about comics, and that is not why we're here, ladies and gentlemen.
Please tell me you're going to cut all that out, because it's like so, like... just so off point.
We've only been recording for like the last 5 minutes, so it'll get cut out. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I am here with my guest today. You want to introduce yourself?
Oh, okay.
I let my guests introduce themselves, because I never know what your name you're going to go by on this is.
My name is Marcos.
I'm never going to pronounce it like that. The last name, or is it just Marcos?
Oh, sure. I'll go with last name. Marcos Lara.
Marcos Lara.
Marcos Lara.
He is a comedian and performer and host from the Rockford, from Rockford.
And poet. I write under the name Asali Lara.
Nice. I would never be able to pronounce that again because I won't remember it.
I don't even know if I pronounced it correctly. I got it in, when I was in high school, I took an African American history class. We all had to pick African names. And I just liked pronouncing it that way.
Nice.
It's not like they came with the pronunciation guide or anything, so...
Well, Marcos, you're breaking new ground on the podcast.
I guess so.
Not being Latino. We've already had one of those. One of those. God, that sounds awful. Yay!
Okay, so we know
Coming from a position of white entitlement.
So we know you took a last-minute trip down by Home Depot when you needed to get...
No. Normally we've talked about movies, we've talked about albums, and we've talked about a video game, but you're picking an event that you experienced, because this is all about experiences that you looked forward to or got excited about and then were horribly disappointed by. What experience did you get disappointed by, Marcos?
Well, the case of Robert Rameek Williams versus Aubrey Drake Graham.
I just found out his name was Aubrey Graham today. And I was like, why is his name Aubrey? I know he's Canadian. I don't know if Aubrey's that Canadian a name. And then I looked it up like, oh, he's half Jewish Canadian. And his dad's from Tennessee. Okay, I can get it.
Yep.
So you are going to talk about your disappointment in the Meek Mill Drake feud.
Yes.
This is such a fun... I don't know where to go with this. I didn't pay attention to it. It's not... my scene, I don't, once Drake was out of Degrassi, I could care less about him.
Yeah.
I like Degrassi.
And who would have ever known that getting shot makes you able to walk?
Not Barbara Gordon, to tie into our earlier conversation.
We don't know what happened between Flashpoint and New 52.
This is true. She could have got riddled with bullets. Riddled with bullets.
Oh, I can walk again. It's a miracle.
Lead's a conductive material. It might work on neurons if it stayed there. You never know. Yeah, we do. Science.
Maybe she just dipped a toe in the Lazarus pit, and all of a sudden she can walk.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe Constantine give her some magical dick. I don't know.
Oh,
I love this. Will really make you walk. Is that some kind of radio sleeper? Oh my gosh!
Oh God! I know that you just peaked the levels because you just broke my eardrum. God damn it! So, oh God! Well, we have these 4 questions that we ask everyone. And I'm going to try and do this because now I'm laughing. But why did you get excited when you heard that there was a feud between these two?
Well, Thomas, I'm glad you asked me that. I got excited because beefs have always defined hip-hop. They have definitely become a part of hip-hop, I'd say, ever since the early 80s, probably even before then.
I'd say the 90s was really when it hit off. Because before mainstream hip-hop. Because before that, Run DMC didn't really have a beef with anybody.
Yeah, they did, but they didn't.
They weren't all about
define themselves by it.
Damn.
But then there were those who were contemporaries of Run DMC who did have beefs.
Yes, this is true.
And if you go back to really the first major beef, which was Kool Moe Dee versus Busy B, and that right there redefined hip hop.
Yeah. Oh God. We're old. I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you get the infamous line. You
can speak it.
That was a nice try. And I don't mean to be bold, but you need to put that rang-a-ding-dang bullshit on hold. I probably totally messed it up, but.
I think you got the point across.
Yes.
But
and here was the thing. Here's what that did. That completely redefined hip-hop.
Yes.
Because up until then, being an MC, a master of ceremonies, was just that. You were the guy who got the party started.
Yes.
And then Kool Moe Dee said, no, you need some lyricism. You need to be smart to be an MC.
I could dig it.
And that redefined hip-hop right there.
Yeah.
Then when you had the beef of Boogie Down Productions versus the...
I'm getting a rap history lesson.
The Juice Crew.
Versus the Juice Crew? Okay.
Yeah.
No clue about any of that.
I believe from Cold Chillin' Records. I believe it was Cold Chillin'. I've probably gained I should have brushed up on this a little better.
Sure,
basically against MC Shan, and in the process took out many of MC Shan's affiliates, including Roxanne Shante, which is some brutal brutal lines. And that right there, once again, redefined hip-hop. It brought hip-hop back to the South Bronx and said, look, this is where it started. I'm going to remind you all.
Yeah, like old school battle raps, and
yes.
The idea of doing that on an album was unheard of at the time.
Yes, and also this is what kickstarted KRS-One's career. And KRS-One is acknowledged. MC Shan could have ignored him.
Yeah.
And that would have been it. That would have been the end of that beef. Chris would have lost. And we probably would not have had the conscious rap of the 80s that so defined the genre. I realize there was Public Enemy as well, but KRS really, really upped the ante, and it was a direct result of that beef. And also, once again, there was that, you had two factions of hip-hop going at it. You had, you could look at it geographically as Queensbridge versus the Bronx, and you can also look at it as more kind of fun party rap versus, I mean, because if you look at the Cold Chillin' crew, where you had, of course, Shan, Roxanne Shante, Biz Markie, Marley Marl.
Yeah. Lighter subject matter and more of a, party
it's a little
vibe.
more lighthearted.
Yeah.
And not to diss it, because really, and I love Biz Markie. And also you have to remember Big Daddy Kane was on there. So it's not like, I don't want to make them sound like they were completely vapid.
Yeah.
But it was still a bit more lighthearted.
Yes.
And Big Daddy Kane is still better known for his Big Daddy Kane that we saw in the Madonna book than he is for some of the gritty subject matter he addressed.
I wonder how many listeners don't understand the reference to the Madonna book.
That motherfucker got a big old dick. Okay.
Well, I remember the Madonna book was a big deal when we were younger, and I don't know how many people understand.
Yeah. I'm saying this, it was like...
Because we live in a world with, like, Miley Cyrus flashing shit all over.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, yeah, that's Miley. But, like, Madonna was breaking that ground before anyone was breaking that ground.
Sure. And we can go back to before... Susie Sue walking around topless in London wearing a swastika armband. You know what I mean? You want to talk edgy.
Yeah, that
cultural misappropriation.
Whew. So we have the 80s rap battles, which obviously leads to the 90s biggest battle, the biggest feud of the 90s, which is easily,
Tupac and Biggie, which once again redefined hip-hop.
Yes, it did. Had they changed, how record labels changed, how it ended up becoming a feud between not just two men, but record labels and coasts.
Yes, to put in this coastal, which is really a shame, because, really, East Coast versus West Coast was non-existent. It was non-existent. It was just basically these two guys and their crews and their record producers profiting off of it.
Yeah.
And I think Sean Combs, for all of his shameless marketing, I don't even think really wanted this beef to happen.
No. He doesn't seem like, he didn't seem like the most violent man until recently.
You know what? No, that is a concerned father. Okay, my daughter's about the same age his son is, and if one of the staff at her school was talking to her like that, oh yeah, I'd be grabbing a kettlebell too.
Such a odd choice of weapon for the the rap persona.
Yeah,
but so we have the 90s. So the obvious reason you got excited for this feud is the history of rap feuds.
The history, and also because once I touched on a little bit of cultural misappropriation. That has been, it's something that's been around for as long as
there have been different cultures.
But Drake is someone I definitely see as a culture vulture. I see Drake as being very much like a Iggy Azalea in that way. Okay, once we were talking about, we're talking about the way Tim Drake grew up. Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't even think about this connection, but Tim Drake, Aubrey Drake, both grew up.
His name is Aubrey.
Both grew up comfortably.
Yes.
And for Aubrey,
yes,
being a child TV star.
He was a child TV star?
That dude was rich. That dude was rich before he had hair on his nuts. Assuming that he has any now.
And he's half Jewish. He's got quite a bit of hair he probably shaves. I'm sorry, Jewish community.
Those long curls on the sides.
He's his mom's a Jewish educator and his dad's a musician from Tennessee. He grew up in Toronto, Canada. He was on Canadian television as a child in Degrassi, which I love.
So this guy, he was rich. Okay?
He never struggled.
So for him to use the N-word the way he does, and for the sake of not getting fired over a podcast at some point in the future, I'll use the word neighbor in place of the word that Drake uses that he shouldn't be using.
No, he shouldn't. Also, I've never heard anyone from Canada. Like, I don't even think Classified throwing out that.
Yeah. It's like, if anything, shouldn't he be using... I mean, he's only half black, but he's fully Canadian. Yeah. Shouldn't he just be using the term Canuck instead? It's like, I do this for my Canucks to give them something to ride to.
His whole crew is just in hockey jerseys, man.
Yeah. Well, they ever say that video? I think it was for All the Way Turned Up. I can't remember what the name of the song was, but it was like takes place at his bar mitzvah.
Nice.
That was actually, that was a cool video. I could respect Drake for
that. He's respecting his culture, his family's culture.
I feel like that's the real Aubrey there. Yeah. Okay.
He's just this Jewish, half black Jewish kid.
Yeah.
From Canada.
You can be a Jewish guy with some lyrical skills. I mean, look at Matis Yahu.
Yeah.
I mean, Matis Yahu is as Jewish as... I mean, the dude is Hasidic.
Yeah. Also, I can look at Drake's face and then know that he's Canadian and be like... Well, it's not his face looks Canadian. It's just I know he's Canadian and I know his face is... And I'm like, you can't be in a beef with anybody, dude. Like, I can't... The hardest you will ever look at someone, I'll still be like, you'd still offer me a donut after all this was done. Because this guy, he doesn't have, like, War of 1812 Canadian in him. He's got, like, last 50 years Canadian in him. And I just don't see the rage.
He's got, like, trying to stick a rat into an empty beer bottle Canadian on him.
Like, he's got the friendly, hey, don't you know, Canadian, not the Chris Benoit rage Canadian. Oh, God. I hate myself for referencing him. But, like, so you have all this reason to be excited. Like, you're like, oh, this is going to be a feud. So it's going to reignite something in hip-hop. And it'll change hip-hop. It'll make people take ownership of what they write and everything like that. Because if I believe, like, the feud started because someone compared Meek Mill... On Twitter, someone compared Meek Mill to Drake, and Meek Mill took offense because Meek Mill writes all of his stuff.
Yeah, I didn't know about that part, but yes, it with the allegations of ghostwriting. And here's one more thing: you gotta keep in mind this isn't Drake's first beef.
No,
because as far as the cultural misappropriation goes, Common, Chicago's own Common, called him out for that, and Drake never responded. He never responded in verse.
Common is kind of like legendary status at this point in his career, where it's just like...
is.
Yeah, if Common Drake, calls you out, you back the fuck down. One, the only person you don't back down from Chicago is Kanye West.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like, Drake's only response was, I think he sold like 2 million copies of his first week that his album came out shortly after that beef started. And 2 million, however many. And he said, 2 million my first week, now that's sweet. Because Common kept saying that he was sweet.
Ah. You're a real cute kid there.
Yeah. And really, I mean, that was cool. It goes back to the whole KRS MC Shan thing of MC Shan could have won by not responding. And in a way, Drake kind of did. But at the same time, this is a guy who does not shy away from sneak dissing people. Where he'll have lines in his songs taking shots at Common, and which is the other reason that Common said, no, you know what, we're gonna give names here. And that's why, if you remember correctly, at the end of one of Common's diss tracks, you have a sample from Destiny's Child saying, say my name, say my name. And for real, I mean, don't be a pussy about it. You got something in, and that's how I feel. Because I mean, even in the comedy world, I see myself getting like sneak dissed by other comics. And like, say my name, motherfucker.
Paying attention to what happens with like your name or in the comedy scene, allusions to you is always weird. Because it's like, dude, we all just fucking tell jokes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a happy thing.
Right? We're all getting to represent our art.
We're not rappers, okay? No. This doesn't boost our careers. If you got something to say, just better yet, just say it to me. We'll work it out. We'll work it out, because I want to get along with everyone.
Yeah. No, I know.
We'll work it out. But in hip-hop, I think that these beefs are healthy.
Yeah, I think they do help the industry a lot.
Yes, and I think it helps the culture a lot, too. I think it really it's a good barometer for where your constituency stands.
Yeah.
And also, we issued the fact that, or we addressed the fact that Drake is Canadian. Meek Mill's American. I felt like this was, here we go, one more chance to prove American exceptionalism. There was that little jingoistic drive in me too, so I was excited.
Oddly enough, I root for Canadians. I served my country.
I love Canadians.
And I'm like,
I do love Canadians. It's like so weird. It's like with Drake, it's like he's so the opposite of the Canadians I know. So like Canadians are so nice, so humble, so polite, and they don't say the N-word.
That's not fair, because most of my Canadian friends are white. So if they said the N-word, they'd get shot down here.
I think there's always a Mountie on hand to shoot any white person who says the N-word.
Oh, I trust the mounted police. I don't trust American police.
That's why I trust the mounted police.
So, Drake's been called out before. He's got all this. Now you're like, it's America versus Canada.
Yeah.
Like, you have reasons like, this is going to be good. This will talk about the cultural misappropriation. This will touch on some things that are actually poignant in culture today.
Yes.
And then, what do you actually, I have to ask, what did you like about this feud?
Well,
because this is a situation.
Drake's not an idiot.
No.
He's not an idiot.
Well, he's a pretty decent businessman and a decent enough actor to pull off being a rapper.
And, and he had some excellent lines in the 2 diss tracks that he issued. His delivery was interesting. His delivery was still the same old Drake delivery.
Yes.
Where he's very, very calm and almost monotone. But at the same time, I think this gave a dismissive quality to his diss tracks, where it's like, I'm not even sweating you. I'm not even worried. I'm fine. I'll respond. Here, you're tugging at my pant leg. Okay, you got my attention. Here's what I've got to say. I'm Charged Up was the first one. I think the way that started up was very interesting. I did some charity today for the kids, but I'm used to it because all y'all charity cases. I mean, it's like I'm doing you a favor
by mentioning you,
by responding.
This is going to make more people acknowledge your existence by me acknowledging your existence.
Exactly. I get a ring and I bring it home like I'm Corey Joe, referring to Corey Joseph, the spectacular Canadian basketball player. I like that little nod to his heritage, his Canadian heritage. That's cool. No woman ever had me starstruck or was able to tell me to get my bars up. But, right there.
That about Nicki Minaj?
Yeah, Nicki Minaj, yeah.
Oh, God.
And Nicki Minaj being the one who pretty much wears the hot pants in that relationship. And rumor has it, there's something that only I know. Rumor has it, I steer the shit with my eyes closed. Rumor has it, I either fucked her or I never could. But rumor has it, hasn't done you neighbors any good. So right, he say, people are saying that I fucked your girl. Hey, maybe I didn't. Maybe I tried and she wouldn't let me. Or maybe I never could. Or maybe he's telling us he's impotent. I don't know. But all these rumors haven't done Meek Mill any good. I mean, that's right there. We say is like, look, you don't need me to diss you.
Yeah, because everyone else is spreading rumors. And everyone's kind of laughing at you in this. And I just look like I either got some or I didn't. Like, it doesn't affect me.
Exactly. And then with back-to-back, I think he came even harder with back-to-back. And anyways, it's very important and very pretentious. When I look back, I might be mad that I gave this attention. right there. He's acknowledging that he's pretentious. Okay, he's dealing with his shortcomings. And starting from there, he's like, hey, this is who I am. And maybe I shouldn't even be addressing this. But here it is. This for y'all to think that I don't write enough. They're just mad because I got the Midas touch. Okay, so right there, directly addressing the ghostwriter rumors. And you say, no, I do write, and I write hits. You love her, then you got to give the world to her. Is that a world tour or your girl's tour?
Oh,
right there, he's basically saying...
He's just saying you only have connections because you're a girl.
Yes. Basically saying you're writing Nicki's clit. Which he is, literally and figuratively. I know that you
no shame on it. I mean, do what you got to do, or do what you love doing. If that's his girl, like, ride or die, man. No shame on you for being with your girl.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a bad thing, really. No, yeah. But at the same time, I'm sorry. At the same time with hip hop, which is so based on
masculinity,
yes, on hyper masculinity. Yeah, it's a man who's supposed to be the breadwinner.
Yeah, the hip-hop community and the African-American community really suffers from the patriarchal view of what a man is supposed to be because they hold so rigid to gender lines.
I would say I want to address the African-American community, first of all, because I'm not African-American.
Yeah, but I see it in the hip-hop community, and it's one of those things. Well, I have heard it, and I have seen it in my friends who are African-American, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, like RuPaul has said, it's harder to be this while I'm also a straight black man, because there's a line everyone expects me to conform to. I'm sorry, I really like RuPaul.
I love RuPaul. He's fantastic.
And I just
RuPaul, whatever.
But the rap game,
both.
The rap game, I always see this hyper masculinity, except for in like
Drake.
Not Drake. It's what's his name?
Macklemore.
Yes, I like Macklemore, but he's also wrote a song where it's like, dude, it's cool if you're gay. Like, no one should give you shit about this.
Macklemore is fantastic. Macklemore is very lyrical. That's what I thought it was hilarious when people said that he didn't deserve the Grammy, and he was going up against Drake. He's like, he deserved the Grammy more than that motherfucker did. That's for sure. I know people were saying, as opposed to Kendrick Lamar, and that's a whole nother argument right there. But when you look at the other people,
I have heard Kendrick Lamar, and I'm not big on the rap game, but Kendrick Lamar is talented.
He is. He very much is. But when you look at the other names that were listed that year, Macklemore was much more deserving. I say, without a doubt, much more deserving than some of the people listed on there.
Scope, like he reached across lines with some of the stuff he was doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
I mean, that could be a whole other conversation.
It could, but we're talking still what you liked about this feud.
And then I can't remember if it was the second or third verse of Back to Back where Drake's, and this is where he really goes for the jug. Well, as close to jugular. I mean, this is where.
As close to the jugular as his Canadianness will allow.
Yeah.
I would like to think that the only reason he's not good at dissing someone is because he's still Canadian. Like, he's still like, oh, it's okay, don't you?
I'm sure
none of my Canadian friends talk like that, by the way.
Like Chaos, like that dude. He's a brilliant MC.
I'm gonna have my friend Kevin listen to this and go, dude, we've known each other for 5 years. I've never said that shit.
Yeah. But then when he says, trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers. Yeah, you get embodied by a singing neighbor. I'm not the type of neighbor that'll type to neighbors. And shout out to all my boss bitches, wife and neighbors. Right there, where it talks about getting bodied. I'm assuming that's short for body bagged.
Mm.
And then there, just right now, when we're in the age of Black Lives Matter, let's not talk about killing and the N-word, and especially when Meek Mill is someone who's endured police brutality. He's someone who's lived it, okay? Yeah. This is a guy who's been a few breaths away from being Eric Gardner. So for Drake
to
be calling Meek Mill the N-word.
Yeah, that's playing with fire.
No. But actually, and that's where we're going to get to what I don't like later. But and Meek Mill definitely had some good lines with I Want to Know. I liked the use of the Undertaker theme. I know that just added to the mockery against him. But
it's a great track. Whatever.
I mean, this line right here, I love so much.
I know WWE took legal action to him.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Don't sample tracks. You ain't gonna pay people.
It's like, you fucking dork. I love it. You fucking. I've never heard anyone in hip hop before come on just say you dork. And that's what Drake is. He's a fucking dork. You fucking dork. You changed the style because you studied us. Coming with the same flow, switching up your lingo. Right there again.
That cultural misappropriation.
Yes, exactly. We just want a refund. This ain't what we paid for. Every time that we come, we get what we came for. Spitting another neighbor shit, but you claim you king though? Money make a fake-ass neighbor look real again. Money make a sucker that told look trill again. Says a lot about all the people that's feeling him, but I'm gonna show you bitch-ass neighbors what's real again. And that right there is cool. If the whole track would have gone like that, it would have been phenomenal. Unfortunately, those were the few good shots that he got in.
So, that's it? That's all you like about this feud? There's a couple of good lines where they're like, they touched on things, right?
Yeah, well, but I love this. Not only did he did what KRS used to do and took it a step further. Where like KRS would not just diss an artist, but diss everyone else who was out on that track with him and everyone else who was part of his crew.
Yeah, he
Meek's going after Drake's fans.
Yeah, and he attacked his producer, and like his producer started putting stuff on Twitter.
Meek's producer or Drake's producer. Okay. Yeah, but I love him. I mean, right there, I think that he really says so much of what needs to be said about Drake. But there's so much more he could have still said. But yeah, and I love that. And there's those lines right there are brilliant. But that part where he says, spitting another neighbor's shit. Because that has so many meanings. One, that he's spitting out someone else's lines. Also, we can say it's a form of dick riding. So basically, he's like spitting out another man's semen.
Mm. So he's touching on the Nicki Minaj thing again, too. Yeah, so that's what I get from it.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even take it that way. I thought he was, yes, it works on that level, too. Not just like Quentin Miller. Not only Quentin Miller's semen, but also he's spitting out Meek's semen.
Yeah.
If he did, and he said that he wants to eat out Nicki's ass. So, right there, and
why do people say that publicly? By the way,
and I gotta make this one point. And why is it about, dude? Like, if I ate Nicki's ass, I'd be talking about it.
I would. I don't want anything to do with Nicki Minaj.
I'd be talking about it.
But like, I just never get the idea of like, I'm gonna bring all this up because I'm like, well, you know, every time I ever mention my penis, it's in horrible shame of myself because I was raised Irish Catholic. But like, the idea that you would be like, yeah, I'm gonna eat that girl's ass. Like, you're telling that to the world. I mean, I've said I would slap God in his face for a woman, but like, I've never been like, to eat her ass. Like, I would never get to that level. I don't understand that at all.
I'm not saying that Nicki would be on the top of that list. I mean, Serena Williams, okay, and Common had that, so.
Serena Williams is a gorgeous woman who could break you like a twig. But, okay,
yes.
So is there, other than this, what's redeemable in this feud? Like,
one more thing I want to bring up. Okay, and with that line, and also at the same time, look, if Drake is sucking Quentin Miller's dick, and he's catching his semen in his mouth.
Okay.
And he's spitting instead of swallowing? That's just rude.
It's true.
That's rude. This guy just wrote a hit for you, and you don't have the decency to swallow?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
No shame on you for sucking dick at all. No shame.
You are a fake-ass neighbor.
But, I mean, come on. Have some commitment to the act.
Yeah.
I got nothing. I mean, unless you have something else you want to touch on, like liking about this feud. I mean, do you think there were a positive fallout from what happened with them? Do you think it all benefited the community?
No. I mean, to me, this is like, I would say that this is probably like Bush versus Kerry. And it's like neither one of them was good. But the results certainly. I mean, it's still you still kind of
there is a winner, but like nobody really wins.
But it's like either one wasn't going to be good for the constituency. But it's like the worst man won.
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
He attacked someone who actually had a foot in the fight, and he had no. It was Drake didn't go to war like Meek Mill did on the streets. Yeah. Just like Kerry actually went to and Bush sat at home. And yet somehow the coward...
he didn't sit at home. He was enlisted in the National Guard from which he went AWOL.
He was in the Air National Guard. He wasn't in the Army. He was in the Air Force.
Air National Guard from which he went AWOL.
Because if you were in the Army, your ass went. But, no, so it's a child of privilege got out of this situation while someone actually dealt with some shit.
Yes.
And the guy who dealt with some shit lost.
Yes. So, really, I mean, this has wrestled away control of hip-hop. Okay, this has wrestled hip-hop away from the streets and put it and really solidified it in the suburbs.
Oh, wow. That's a awkward thought. I don't know where Macklemore is for to make an assessment to him, but yeah, that is another cultural appropriation thing, because that is a very...
But see, at least Macklemore, I don't know how he grew up. I mean, obviously he's white, but...
Macklemore looks like he's had the shit kicked out of him a couple times.
Probably.
I mean, I'm a skinny white guy. I've had the shit kicked out of me a couple times. We can spot our own.
There you go. But after the whole Mike Brown situation... And after Officer Wilson wasn't, the grand jury decided not to indict him, Macklemore took to the streets. Protesting. And I give him credit for that.
So Macklemore's got his cred.
Yeah, so you don't have to be race in the streets to contribute to the streets. And I give Macklemore a lot of credit for that. Like Talib Kweli. I don't know how Talib was raised, but he's a guy who's definitely giving back to the community.
So we touched on the things. Now we get to have the fun part, which is what just made this not profitable. What made this not good for the community, for rap game, for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, Meek Mill, he wasn't just representing America. Let's look at where the guy's from. Philadelphia, the city of Rocky.
The city of brotherly love.
He could have been a real-life Rocky.
He could have been a contender.
The underdog. Yes, he could have been a contender. He was the underdog standing up to Apollo Creed, and I guess, like in Rocky 1, he lost.
Wait, has anyone ever made a track to the Rocky theme? That's got to be somewhere.
It has.
But yeah, okay, so he could have been something. He could have been a representative for his community, for his country in this situation, and for hip-hop from the streets, from its origins. And he just kind of loses to a Canadian.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, even though he had some good lines in there, overall it was too vague. You should have specifically the best thing you can do is when you can quote lines from someone else's song.
Yeah.
If you can turn your opponent's own words against him, like once again, like when we talked about Kool Moe Dee versus Busy Bee.
Yeah.
And although in the Jay-Z versus Nas, I sided with Jay. I mean, Nas really, really nailed Jay with one line where he said, where Jay had said, ask Nas, he's the one rocking hoes, or something to that effect. Or basically saying how Nas is just with promiscuous women.
Yeah.
And Nas replied with, I rock hoes, y'all rock fellas.
Rockefeller.
And took his own record label and used it against him, which was a brilliant move. And if you want to talk about getting like in a real detailed lyrical battle, Jay and Nas, they
definitely. That I actually remember.
They brought up details against each other. I think KRS One versus Nelly. I was like when you were on 105.
Why do people pick fights with legends? Like, like Drake was like, I'm gonna stay away from Common because Common will eviscerate me.
Yes.
And then Nelly's like, I'm big enough in the game now. I got big pimp. I got big pimping money in this. I can fight KRS-One. He's not a goddamn legend.
I'll say this: when Wyclef went up against LL, I think Wyclef held his own well.
Well, yeah, but Wyclef was already getting on that.
Yes.
Like Wyclef is now in that position where it's like,
definitely.
Don't fuck with Wyclef. Wyclef will fuck you up.
Yes.
But like he was already on that way. I mean, LL was there, but LL suffered from that kind of like party, cool, chill vibe. Like LL's never been I never see LL as the hardest guy. I always see LL as the guy like, yeah, I really wouldn't want to get in a fight with LL in a fist fight because like LL's a big guy and he'll fuck you up.
He's hard enough. That's the thing about LL.
But also LL always seemed like, man, like his name said it all, man. Yeah. Ladies love Cool J. Yeah. And, like, he's chill. Like, I always see LL as the hip-hop artist for the ladies. Like, he's there
first and
for
foremost,
women.
But he holds it down for the guys, too.
And
that's why
Mama Said Knock You Out is still my anthem, man.
Yeah. If you think about it, Wyclef was the first to reach a stalemate with LL.
Yes.
LL defeated all of his other rivals.
True.
Including Kool Moe Dee. He took out Ice-T.
That's true, he did. I forget about that.
And Ice-T acknowledges that LL won that one.
Yeah, ain't no shame in Ice-T's game.
Yeah, I know that some hip-hop heads will say that Cannabis eviscerated LL, but no, he didn't. If you look at those tracks, and here's the thing, LL still had a career after that beef.
Yeah.
Cannabis didn't.
No. LL's kind of bulletproof, actually, when you think about it. Like, he's a crossover star. Pretty much. He has got enough appeal in just about every aspect. Like,
yeah.
I mean, he survived. Like, okay, everyone's like, Cannabis might have won, but he had a career afterwards. He had a career after Deep Blue Sea. Okay? He made the title track. Like, he was part of that 90s one where every movie had to have a title rap track.
Yeah.
He was in the movie where his biggest co-star was a parrot that gets eaten. And he makes the track deepest, darkest, like, blue. And, like, he made that. That is the worst track he's ever made. And his career's still fine. Like, he's got that, like, Will Smith Untouchable vibe. Like, it's like, it's Will Smith. Like, yeah, we know. It's the Fresh Prince. He's Will Smith now. We're cool with it.
He's Will Smith, but with a
hard
battle
edge.
Record. Yeah. I mean, he's Will Smith where Will Smith played Ali.
Yeah.
LL was Ali on the mic throughout the 80s and 90s.
True. Yeah. I will totally give you that. But yeah. So
I would have liked to have seen some of that. Like I said, the disses were too vague. There was not enough specific references to Drake's foolishness. There's a line in it that really talk about the real low point of this was in one of Drake's tracks, where he says, "Cops are killing people with their arms up, and your main focus is trying to harm us, and you think you about to starve us? Neighbors ain't about to starve us." Like, wait a minute. So which is it? Are you on the pro-black tip, or here you are saying, you once again going back to calling Meek Mill the N-word?
Yeah.
And
which you subtly put neighbors in.
Yes. Yeah, and how are you going to bring in the whole Black Lives Matter thing into this when you're not doing anything for it? I think he acknowledged the Sandra Bland incident, but he's not out there on the forefront. He's not out there like Talib. He's not out there like Macklemore. And to just interject that out of nowhere. There's nothing leading up to it.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. Cops are killing people with their arms up. They're not killing you, Drake. Okay? No. They're not. And they wouldn't. Okay. Wheelchair Jimmy is never...
wheelchair. He was the kid in the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But I can't look at Drake's face and I'm like, dude, you're cool. You're just a silly guy. It's okay. Maybe it's because I see him as from Degrassi. I can't ever let that be done.
Yeah, and in my opinion, that right there should have he should have lost by default on that one. I think that should have just been one of those, like in sumo wrestling when you step outside the ring.
Yeah,
he
you're
stepped
done.
outside of the ring on that one.
You're out.
There was no need for it was cheap. It was a gratuitous exploitation of black people who are being killed, African American people.
Yeah.
Who are being killed in the streets by the cops. And he's trying to use this to win some silly beef.
Yeah,
because he wants to eat Nicki Minaj's ass.
Yeah, that's and to make that argument with a man from Philadelphia with the situation that happened in Philadelphia months later.
Who has endured police brutality himself.
That's like when they were trying to call out John Kerry's war record to make that analogy again.
Here's the way he got swift voted by Drake.
Like they're like, yeah, he did. He got swift voted, and it's that whole thing. Guys who don't know what it's like in that field, pretending to be fucking experts. Because Bush was the war president, but he never fought in one, so he don't know shit. And Drake is pulling the Black Lives Matter card out of nowhere to try and earn some credibility that he doesn't have.
Yes.
And yeah, I can understand why that would be horribly disappointing.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to harbor on the disappointing because all the disappointing just seems to be that Meek Mill did not capitalize on the weakness of Drake. Is what we're really getting at.
Yes.
And that's why he lost.
He could have. I mean, there are so many. You want to talk about someone who it's like playing laser tag. I mean, I go out to Laser Quest. You got targets all over. There's so many different places you can shoot someone.
Yeah.
So many different places you can hit someone. And Meek Mill missed most of them.
Yeah, you could have just destroyed him for that stupid Sprite commercial he did.
Yeah. Last name ever, first name greatest. Like, oh no. I love the part where like his ears like
his head just explodes with Sprite coming out of it.
No, like his ears like expand out like a cyborg, and it's like, oh, so that's why Drake's got those ears.
They're the control knobs.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, so this is just a preview for the next Men in Black movie, right? Like he's gonna have an alien in there. He's not just Canadian like an alien to America. He's an alien to America.
Yes.
Oh well, how do you? Last question then, how do you make this something good? Like,
I think that both of them needed to put in more punchlines, especially Meek Mill. That's the thing. It's like you got to, along with emasculating your foe, he also has this expression clowning on. You have to show that this person is a joke. And I think, Jay-Z, probably the master of that.
I would say Jay-Z or, oh God, I hate to be this white, but I'm going to bring M into it because Eminem is phenomenal at that. Like, he literally makes music videos that are just running jokes for 3 minutes.
I completely forgot about that. Like, Eminem versus Everlast.
Yeah.
That was...
Talk about a white guy who took himself too seriously.
Both of them in that. And you know what? And
I give him credit though. He makes fun of himself a lot.
Yeah, and Everlast drew first blood on that one. Was it busted 380 on those who act shady?
Oh God.
Yeah, that was.
Why would you ever pick a fight? Like, I guess I get it. You pick a fight with the number one guy because it's like it'll bring me that kind of credibility. That number one guy. But when that number one guy is actually capable of rapping as a lyricist without changing the ends of words and actually just can look at the dictionary and go, oh, this is how rhyming couplets work. Yeah. Which is what Eminem, that's why I like hip hop from the 90s and before, and I like Eminem because he doesn't do what Snoop would eventually make famous by just adding suffixes at the end of words to make them rhyme. M actually has a rhyme scheme to his raps, and I like someone who I love the English language as someone who speaks in it often. I like how words sound. There's a reason. There's an eloquence to like how Shakespeare worked, how words work, how Dre and everyone was doing it in the 90s, how Run DMC was pulling it down in the 80s. Like, there were these guys who were poets. Like, Ice Cube was a poet, man.
Yes.
And then nowadays I don't see the same poetry in the verses because they just kind of change how the word sounds to make it rap. And then Everlast is going to pick a fight with that guy who's got that cannon, who's got those people behind him. It's like, fuck, dude, no.
Eminem definitely acknowledges that he's standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yes.
And you can see, I mean, there you've got the ghost of Keith Murray's career. Right there, you've got, I mean, first of all, Eminem he's just an albino Keith Murray.
Yeah.
With brilliant producers. It's like Eminem is like,
and a brilliant producer himself.
Yeah, nowadays. He is. He really is. But look, I mean, imagine if Keith Murray had teamed up with Dr. Dre.
Fucking untouchable.
Yes. But, and then Everlast didn't even do this like on a full-on diss track. He did this as a feature on a Dilated Peoples song. Dilated People. Okay, do you know what Dilated Peoples reminds? Okay, here, Everlast with Dilated Peoples reminds me of like that wigger in high school who only hung out with like the nerdy people of color. Maybe like one nerdy black dude and like a nerdy Asian dude. I mean, that's okay. Dilated Peoples right there.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
I mean, they are the nerdiest. They have got to be the nerdiest group, at least at that point, the nerdiest group in hip hop. I mean, I saw them live. Huge disappointment. Eminem always brings it hard live.
Yeah.
So for Dilated Peoples to even allow
him.
So that's like they should have stepped out of the way. Right? It's like no. And what happened to Dilated Peoples after that? They destroyed their career.
Yeah.
He destroyed their career. Yeah. It's kind of, that's what, once again, that's what you learn from Drake. Because remember, when you diss Drake, you diss yourself. And he proved that when you diss him, you diss yourself. Everlast went on to hold his own in that and had some brilliant lines. And here's what I mean about punchlines. To me, the most memorable line from that whole beef was with that platinum blonde Caesar, you kind of look like a hoe. Makes me think Eminem stands for Marilyn Monroe. See, there you go. You got a punchline right there. He took out Eminem.
And that's what Drake and them are missing. They don't have that sense of comedic to make a fool of someone.
Yeah. And I don't remember seeing any references to Degrassi in there.
Yeah.
Right there. I mean,
Drake makes himself cannon fodder with his history.
Yeah. It's like if Zach Morris released a diss track on someone, you'd have some Saved by the Bell references.
You would have someone completely stop the track and then talk, like straight talk to like they're talking to the camera, Zach Morris style, freeze time, and like totally play with it. And they don't touch on anything here.
No.
They didn't make a wheelchair joke. They didn't make a your ass got shot on Canadian television joke.
And here's some things that I thought of that I would and really, I don't think that Drake is worth my time, so is why I would not go and record a whole diss track about him. But if I were to scribble down some rhymes, I would have said, Wayne exhausting powers, but Drake just as many. Strapped to his lap, you like to bounce and shimmy. The way you dick ride, I figured what the real skinny. Wayne got handicap accessible sack for wheelchair Jimmy. Your dick went kamikaze, now it limp like Ozzy. We learned that shit on Degrassi, your shit dead like Benghazi. You started from the bottom, now you're here. Your lips went from Wayne's bottom to spitting into the stratosphere. The only reason you got them is because you licking these nuts here. 6-man, deep sixth, riding dicks, turning tricks, catching jizz and jeers in your ear.
God damn it, Marcos, you broke a lot more new ground than I expected you to do on this podcast. The first time we've had anyone rap on this podcast. Oh, Marcos.
That was more reciting than
yeah, you had already written it down. But that was...
if I were to rap it, I didn't need a real rapper to write a reference track for me first.
Well,
Quentin Miller.
Point made. God, this has been fun.
Yeah, we should have brought in Justin Sidecheck to recite that last part.
No, but I understand why you want to say that.
By the way, I love Justin. Probably, definitely the greatest poet Rockford has ever known, and probably one of the best poets, if not the best, in Illinois.
Cool beans. Where can people find you, Marcos? Do you have a presence online? I know you told you had a fake Twitter.
Yeah. Don't look for me on Twitter. I've lost myself on Twitter. I can't remember my screen name or anything. But I'm on Facebook. My URL is facebook.com/comedianfreak. And then my screen name is Marcos Satirist, which was a play on the whole thing of all these comics here, like comedian this, comedian that, like
nice.
Comedian Stick, who's one of my favorite comics, or Comedian Hot Sauce. Actually, I don't even think he was. I think he's just Hot Sauce, not comedian. But yeah, so it's like.
You can always, check Marcos out on Facebook. Find him at a comedy show near you.
Yes.
Definitely see him live because he's funny.
Every third Wednesday of the month at Town Hall, and tomorrow night
in Rockford, Illinois.
Yes.
It's going to be 2 weeks from today.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess it was. But still, okay. Well, then let's say, we had a great celebration of Town Hall's 3-year anniversary.
Woo, woo.
Longest running comedy show in the Rockford area. Scott Galvin started it, and I'm trying to keep the tradition alive.
And you're doing pretty good. 3 years.
Yep, and also I'm at Jack's Hookah Bar every month. And both those shows take place on Wednesdays. Just on a Wednesday, hit me up on Facebook on a Wednesday, and I'll tell you where I am. Also, Green Fire's coming back September 18th with Adam Burke, Peter John Burns, and it's gonna be a third comic. Talking to a couple people. We're gonna see whose schedule is clear. But every third Wednesday, Town Hall, Jack's Hookah Bar. It's kind of rotating Wednesdays.
I sadly can't do the Jack's Hookah Bar.
Yeah.
Damn my allergies. Thanks, Marcos. I hope everyone should go check out Marcos. You can always find us at I Want to Like This on Twitter, and I Want to Like This on Facebook.
Yeah, and they can also get my book on Amazon.
You have a book?
Yes. Praise, Pain, and Lust by Asali Lara.
Nice.
It's poetry, and I don't have any diss poems on there that I can think of.
Well, I'll make sure
the next one will have some.
Links will be connected below. Yeah. Everyone have a great day, and normally I'd tell you to watch a movie, but just go and watch the world.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show, Thomas, and thank you for your service as always.
Have a great one, folks. Bye.